For the past 2.5 days, teams have been working hard to hack and secure ICS in the S4 Capture the Flag competition. Here to announce and interview the winners is the man who put the CTF together, Reid Wightman. Reid is a Digital Bond alum and currently is the founder and CEO of Revic Security. Please welcome Reid Wightman to the S4 main stage.
Howdy, everybody. So we ran the S4 CTF last year and this year, this year we expanded it quite a bit. So first off, I'd like to thank the sponsors of the CTF. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible. OSI Soft has been sponsoring us for a few years now, and not only that, but they love to put their equipment in harm's way. So they put Pi servers, a couple of them, on the CTF network and gave people some clues as to how to hack into their servers. So my hat's off to them always. Radiflow is a sponsor as well this year. They make security products, and they also put their security products in harm's way and had made some really neat city lighting simulation flags. And then RSA also sponsored us and ran some of their agent software on our network, and they were even able to detect people doing some attacks that we hadn't anticipated. If you haven't checked these guys out, I would roll up to the CTF area. I hope they're still there. Talk to these folks and chat with them about security. So our network this year was quite a bit expanded from last year's. This year we had 43 flags. We had 17 contributed from OSI Soft, 1 from Radiflow. We had a whole bunch of disparate challenges. And the real goal of the CTF this year was players were breaking into a fictitious company called Killer Robots Incorporated. So in order to do that, they had to do a variety of missions from reconnaissance to exploitation, and they even had to do forensic analysis of some other exploits. So we had a pretty large variety of challenges, and we had quite a few field devices. You won't be able to see this network diagram very well, but this is a basic structure of what our CTF network looked like. Our players were primarily up on this wireless network up here, and they were attacking all of the systems that were associated with this company. We simulated everything from a corporate domain controller and email server to a web server to everything from a control LAN to PLC field devices. So it was hopefully pretty interesting. This is a graph showing what teams were up to throughout the challenge when they were solving challenges. It's kind of interesting to us because in prior years we shut down the scoreboard at night. This year we decided to leave the scoreboard up so that players could still work on these forensic analysis challenges and things at night, and they did. Teams were up until 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning solving challenges and submitting flags to our scoring system. So, right, there were a lot of things on the network. In total, we had 19 teams register. 14 of them scored at least 1 flag. Teams were working all hours of the day. I was a little bit surprised at how light the network traffic was. We actually did do traffic captures of the network this year, and we only had about 2 gigabytes of network traffic capture. And we were only capturing traffic that crossed network boundaries. So it would have to be network traffic crossing, corporate to DMZ or DMZ to control or so forth. But that it does include all of the normal ICS network traffic, OPC servers polling field devices and other things polling those OPC servers and that sort of thing. But to me, this is kind of an interesting lesson just because, here it is, we're simulating a process control system, and there's not a whole lot of traffic going on. So to me, that's kind of interesting, and it says something beneficial about ICS monitoring. There's not as much data as you think out there. So our top 5 teams were Old Glory Robot Insurance. That was mostly Cisco Talos guys. We had Team JL, which was folks from Spaywar. I used to work for Spaywar, so definitely a fan of them. And then we had two individuals that ran their own teams of 1 that were also in the top 5. That's Curtis Schilling from ABB and Blake Johnson. And I actually didn't catch where Blake Johnson works. So these are some pictures of the CTF area. If you haven't checked it out, we'll probably start tearing it down around 1 or 1:30. But you might want to go and take a look at it because we have a lot of interesting stuff. This is one of the lockpick challenges that we had. We also had this motor, which was kind of fun. This was a challenge where people had to solve what the critical speed of this motor's drive shaft was. So we could actually operate this thing and let it, run some damage on the motor's bearings for a bit. So lots of people liked seeing that because it makes lots of noise. Lots of teams were hanging around in the area, working really hard on challenges like all the time. I'm always surprised that people come to S4 and then spend all of their time in the CTF area staring at a laptop screen. It's really fun to me to watch that because I'm like, hey, you should go watch some talks too. But hey, I'm stuck up there, so I guess they can be stuck up there with me. So the winner this year was We Hack for Booz. There are a bunch of Booz Allen Hamilton guys, and I guess come on out, guys. So yeah, congratulations to these folks. Yeah. So these guys were up. These were the team that were up all night long solving flags, and they solved a lot of really hard ones, including some pretty crazy reverse engineering flags. Would you guys just kind of introduce yourselves? Say who you are. I know you probably don't want to say much more than that, but
Sure. So I'm Kyle Miller. I'm obviously with Booz Allen Hamilton. I'm with the Strategic Innovation Group, and my background's in industrial cyber. So I was really just kind of the industrial guy helping out our real hackers that are sitting next to me.
Yeah, my name is Tim Neri. I'm a penetration tester and security researcher with Booz Allen's Dark Labs, and I do not have an ICS background, but it was fun to learn.
I'm Tom Georgian. I'm also with Booz Allen Dark Labs, and I have a background in a little bit of everything, mostly mobile application security and pen testing.
Cool. So did you guys have any favorite flags that you really enjoyed working on?
So I think my favorite challenge was probably the software-defined radio challenge. There was a challenge where you had to tune the SDR into the right frequency, and you could actually pull pager messages right out of the air. And the pager messages had some encryption on them, so you had to figure out the key in order to decrypt it properly. So it was sort of a two-step process. And it was my first time playing around with software-defined radio. But I found a few tutorials online and was able to tune into it and pull the messages. So.
Yeah, my favorite challenge was one of the reverse engineering ones. So we were provided with a network PCAP file that had a Pi server explicit login authentication. So we saw a username and an encrypted password, and we were also given this little binary executable, which showed how the encryption was done, and we had to do some reverse engineering on that. And I kind of found a pattern in how it was generating that, and I ended up writing a brute force script and was able to recover the password, which opened up quite a few challenges for us then on the Pi section of the CTF.
Yeah, I think being more on the industrial side, my favorite challenges were on the actual PLC challenges. There was one where we had to manipulate some ladder logic to have a couple physical lights that were there with an HMI show that turn off the lights while the HMI was still showing that the lights were on and not setting off the alarms to alert the other PLC that was happening. So it's always fun for me, and I think it's eye-opening to a lot of people when they see that hey, what you're looking at on the HMI is maybe not always what's actually happening.
Excellent. So, next year, obviously, we'll be running a CTF again, or at least I hope we will. Would you have any advice for teams that are playing next year and how they might take you guys down?
Sure. So this year, you guys ended up tweeting quite a few hints, which provided a lot of insight into the network. So we had an idea of what kind of things to research ahead of time, and that was definitely helpful.
Sure. I really enjoyed in this CTF how there was sort of like an ARG alternate reality game component to it. We actually had a fake Twitter account for the Killer Robots Inc., so we were monitoring that, and from that you could figure out some of the challenges sort of in advance if you were looking carefully at things. And the best way to prepare for CTFs mostly is to just play lots of CTFs. Tim and I compete in CTFs year-round, and the practice helps a lot. So.
Do you have any favorite CTFs that you really enjoy playing each year?
I really enjoy the Seesaw CTF that comes around. It's based out of NYU, and it's a pretty big online CTF with a variety of challenges.
Okay, so do you guys have any gripes for me about things that went badly on the network? This is your chance to excoriate me on the public stage.
I mean, all in all, things were pretty good. It was an impressive amount of infrastructure behind it, and to have so few kind of issues, that's actually a compliment to you guys and the organizers and how much they put together. The biggest issue we had was the backnet challenges, because I guess there was a firewall rule that was kind of blocking access. So we weren't sure if we weren't doing it right or if we were supposed to kind of pivot into another machine before we could hit that network.
Right.
But I mean, today, once all that was resolved, we were able to get those flags pretty quickly. So.
Yeah. Did you actually solve the hardest backnet challenge? I didn't think so. So there were a few challenges in there that we didn't expect people to solve, and one of them was a backnet challenge where there was a read-only firewall in front of an HVAC system. So we didn't expect people to solve it, but we thought if somebody did, that would be pretty amazing, and we'd give them lots of points and some praise. We're glad you didn't.
Yeah, I think we looked at that one for a few minutes and tried a couple things, and I think we decided it probably wasn't worth our time this morning, at least.
Right. All right. Well, one more hand for the Booz Allen Hamilton team. They're the winners of a black badge, so they get free entry to S4. So I hope that we'll see them back, and hopefully they'll be working at 1 o'clock in the morning on the next CTF. But we'll see. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate you playing. Yeah.